News, but we do want to come back to you there for more on Newcastle. But that breaking news is that we can now confirm that story that we were bringing you reported elsewhere a few minutes ago, is that Liverpool have reached an agreement with Al Hilal for the sale of Darwin Núñez. So big news this as well. It's understood that the Saudi Pro League club are set to pay a fixed fee of £46.2 million plus add-ons that could take the deal to £56.6 million. Sky in Italy are reporting that Al Hilal have accepted Núñez's wage demand. So, I mean, it looks like this one is pretty much done, really. AC Milan were interested. They did make an approach, but were always unlikely to ever match these figures. So, Liverpool's Darwin Núñez looks like he's off to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia for a fee that could rise to £56.6 million. Me and Michael will be talking about that in a moment.
Two players' names that you mentioned there, Darwin Núñez and Benjamin Sesko, are all linked to this, or potentially linked to this Alexander Isak situation. Of course, this all started a couple of weeks ago when Alexander Isak failed to travel with the Newcastle first team squad on their pre-season tour of Asia. He then decided to have a solo trip to Spain with his own backroom staff, his own individual staff, and get some rehab and some training there, really against the wishes of Eddie Howe and his backroom team at Newcastle. Eddie Howe said he found out about that trip through the media, so the optics of that weren't good. As we know, Isak returned on Saturday to the North East. The Newcastle first team squad returned on Monday. They were given yesterday off, and they're back in training just a couple of hundred yards over to my right hand side this morning. Eddie Howe has decided that he wants to have a kind of gathering, friends and family bonding session at the training ground today. So once the players finish training, which is just about now, I think, the players' families and children, wives, partners are all invited into the training ground for lunch and activities for the kids, just to try and ensure that everyone is together. Now, this isn't a new thing. They have it quite often here at Newcastle, but I think the timing of it interesting, given everything that's going on with Benjamin Sesko and Alexander Isak. But interestingly, Isak has been told to report once the gathering has ended. So he's to report late afternoon here to the training ground, where he will receive treatment and maybe train.
Carragher has said something interesting today. He's questioned how Isak and Hugo Ekitike would work together. Now, this is what Jamie has said. When you have a top striker like Isak, Haaland, Kane, it's very difficult to have quality backup, as they always play. 80 million is too much to pay for a backup. Where does Ekitike get his minutes in his position, not fudging it by putting him on the left? Hard to play together when you spent 115 million on Wirtz. And yes, we do need to buy attackers. Rob, Jamie's got a point there, hasn't he?
Well, he knows his football, Jamie Carragher, and he knows Liverpool better than anybody. Look, he's absolutely right. It feels a bit like fantasy football that Liverpool are playing right now in Arne's slot. Just, if these players are available, go and get them. But as somebody said to me today who's watching this deal from the outside, said, if you can get Alexander Isak, why wouldn't you? Strengthen when you're strong. And these are the reigning Premier League champions. I'm surprised, personally, how many changes Liverpool have made, bringing in Wirtz, bringing in Ekitike, changing both fullbacks after the departure of Trent Alexander-Arnold. It feels like it's going to be a very different-looking Liverpool lineup at the start of the season than the one that finished the season when they lifted the Premier League title. So it does seem a little bit strange, but I'm not so sure Carragher's exactly right in saying that you can't play Ekitike and Isak if they were to get him, because I've looked into it, and Ekitike's played quite a lot on the left wing. 9 games he's played there in the last 2 seasons. And you just imagine that as a front three, by the way. Ekitike on the left, Isak up the middle, Mo Salah on the right, with Florian Wirtz as a number 10 attacking midfielder in behind them. Wow. That could be absolutely explosive. But, of course, we also know that Liverpool are going to be competing in 4 different competitions again. So they're going to need those options. We saw Arsenal started the season before last with a lot of striking options. Then they got a couple of injuries, and suddenly they didn't have any strikers. Liverpool don't want to be in that position. So, I would not question Jamie Carragher at all. He knows what he's talking about. He's an expert in this area and the club. But I think this is a statement of intent from Arne Slot and for Liverpool if they can get Isak on top of the business they've already done, and they will find a way, because all of those front players are pretty flexible in where they can play, and boy, what attacking options they would have.